Okay, my PlayStation is reading your messages out loud, which is scaring the hell out of me, so let me fix that right now. Okay, that is odd. Alright, we're on the air. Let me pull this up for y'all. Olympic, what's going on? Austin, Dickovich, Quickscope, Olympic. So this is my first time doing a new... What's going on, Raven? So this is my first time doing a new streaming setup for you guys. I'm actually streaming this through the Share Factory on PlayStation and just reading the chat on my computer. How is the stream so far? And we'll let a few more people get in here before we start everything. If everything is good on my end, we can start it for yours. You sound fine. What's going on, Mitz? Glad you can make it. Flame, what's going on? Gamer guy, what's good? I don't remember if I have seen that actually. Chris, what's going on? Alright, I guess we got a decent amount of people in here so we can officially start the stream. What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy RonnyPugs back again with a video that I did not think I would be making, at least not now. Today's video was supposed to be something else. I had to push that one back for tomorrow, but this is too big of news to not talk about with you guys, and there's just so much information that keeps piling up on us, like literally every second regarding this. Everyone on Twitter is talking about this. Spider-Man is no longer in the MCU. Apparently Tom Holland and John Watts, they both have 2 more films, but it's going to be all Sony with their creative control, and I believe they're not going to be referencing any future MCU stuff, so you won't see any Iron Man stuff, won't see Captain America cameos or anything like that. BBC is reporting on it too. It's trending on Twitter. It's literally worldwide. Like, people actually care about this. But I originally was gonna wait and see like what news was coming out for this, but right now it's just too much stuff to not talk about. And honestly, when I heard this news yesterday, I felt like I was punched in the gut. I have not felt like this since they canceled Spider-Man 4, and I remember back in the day. Like, I don't remember Spider-Man 4 being canceled exactly when it did, but when I found out that they canceled it, I was like, oh my god, are you serious? I feel exactly like that. Exactly, gamer guy. So, apparently from what I heard, the reason this deal fell the reason this deal fell through is because there's like producer credit that someone's not getting credit for, so I guess that was one of the issues even before Far From Home, and also Disney wanted 50% of the profits coming from Spider-Man Far From Home, which I know a lot of people are mad at Sony for doing this, but I believe Disney also has the merchandising rights for Spider-Man. So on top of the merchandising rights and 50% of the profit, they're making more money from Sony on Sony's property. Like, I honestly don't blame Sony for pulling out of this. I don't think they're going to be ending at Deacon status. I think what's happening is that we're at least getting 2 more films with Tom Holland and John Watts, but they just can't do any MCU stuff. Like, they can't reference anybody in the MCU. It's literally going to be like it's in its own world from here on out, apparently. Which, in my opinion, if you ask me, it is going to completely mess up the entire MCU timeline. Now, I did read a report that came out a few hours after the first report that Sony and Marvel could still work on a deal to keep Spider-Man in the MCU by the time they need to make their next movies or something. But I was thinking about this too, like right after the deal got announced that it's not working out anymore. I was thinking that this was probably going on even before Far From Home, because my biggest complaint with Spider-Man Far From Home is that we got no reveal of what the new Avengers Tower became. And honestly, like, I'm pretty sure we can all say now that it was going to be Oscorp. That's why it was cut from the film. The deal was a bit shaky right now, and if they made it Oscorp, then this deal would have had to stay in place. I don't know about that, Deacon. Now they could do indirect references, kind of like what we got with Uncle Ben with the with his briefcase, and then in Spider-Man: Homecoming, when Peter was talking to Ned about all the stuff that Aunt May has been through, we could get something like that regarding Happy Hogan and Tony Stark. But I don't know what's going to be going on. I agree too. I want him to stay in the MCU. Now the thing I was thinking about too is that with this Spider-Man, like, if they decide to reboot again with a brand new actor and a brand new story, I really don't think it's going to succeed. The thing about this Spider-Man that's different from TASM and the Raimi series is that this Spider-Man's entire story is built off other characters in that world. Sure, Tom Holland is a great Spider-Man, but it's the fact that he's dependent on other characters to progress his story. So now that he's by himself, and we already have all these inaccurate Spider-Man characters like Ned Leeds, Betty Brant, Flash, like, people are going to be really turned off from the series. I know, Digovich, his entire story revolves around the MCU. They are keeping him, Psycho. There's apparently 2 more movies being made with Tom Holland and John Watts, but apparently, I guess they're just not going to reference any MCU stuff. I don't think it's going to work either, Olympic. Because the thing about this, like I said, his entire story is dependent on the MCU. That's what makes this Spider-Man different from Andrew Garfield. People didn't want to reboot right after Spider-Man 4, and people wanted to keep Andrew Garfield around as well. But people were more inviting to this interpretation of Spider-Man because he was going to be in the MCU. Literally, when it was first announced, everybody was like, alright, well, forget Andrew Garfield, we're focusing on this Spider-Man. His entire story revolves around the MCU, and now we're not going to be getting that because of the behind-the-scenes stuff going on in the studios. I agree too, Meds. I think it's going to be a complete mess now, since like I'm saying, his entire story is based on the MCU. You take that away and it's nothing. Like, even all of his villains. Vulture, product of Tony Stark. Mysterio, product of Tony Stark. Literally, everyone revolves around the MCU in these Spider-Man films. And you take that away. I heard Tom Holland unfollowed Sony on Instagram. I'm not sure about that. I'm not that mad about it, Aaron, because let's be honest, I think now, since the deal is broken, they can do more classic interpretations of the characters. Like, for instance, when we do end up getting the next Spider-Man film with Tom Holland, the main villain isn't going to have a connection to Tony Stark. It's going to be like the classic interpretation of the characters. That's another thing too. Literally, the suits are made by Tony. And now everything's just being taken away. Like, it's so hard being a Spider-Man fan in films right now. Ever since TASM 2, everything has just been screwed up. He unfollowed both of them? Oh, okay. Somebody told me that he unfollowed Sony today. Like, Zendaya did it too, and the actor that plays Ned Leeds. What they're doing now, Ultimate Spider-Man, is that there's 2 new Spider-Man films in development with Tom Holland and John Watts. They're just not going to be having MCU references. There's still time for another deal to be made in place so Spider-Man can stay in the MCU, but as of right now, he is out of the MCU. I do agree with that, Galaxy. I feel you on that one, Aaron. Disney versus Sony. The thing is, though, is like, I think Disney already had it good, because not only do they have all these other franchises with all these other characters, but with this, they have the merchandising rights. And if you guys have ever seen that chart where it's like all the other superheroes, like the amount of merch they sell, Spider-Man outsells everyone, and I believe Disney does own the merchandising rights for Spider-Man, which is why Sony was like, yeah, F this, when Disney was asking for 50% of the profits. How much did Disney give before? Do you guys know? I think it was like 20, wasn't it? My thoughts on Sony buying Insomniac, I think it's pretty good. I really don't think it required an 11-minute video to be made, but the good thing is that they can focus more on Spider-Man, like they're all going to be with Sony, I guess. They're going to be making 2 more films, Ultimate Spider-Man, with Tom Holland, but the fact is that they just won't be referencing any MCU stuff. I'm not too sure about that, Galaxy. The thing is, though, if they don't finish these Tom Holland films, which I'm really hoping they do, because I don't want another cliffhanger Spider-Man movie to end, and also it would be the curse of no one gets a Spider-Man 3 besides Tobey Maguire. If they cancel Tom Holland's movies and decide to reboot, it's not going to work in my opinion, because nobody wants another reboot. Honestly, the only thing that's going to work besides Tom Holland films, in my opinion, is Spider-Verse and Spider-Man 4. And the only way I see Spider-Man 4 being made is if they cancel the Tom Holland films. I don't think it's just going to happen out of the blue because they're out of this deal. They should fight him. I'm not too sure about that, Deacon. I actually am excited for the Spider-Man TV shows, though. And I know Sony was trying to make that Silver and Black movie. Just make it a TV show. Nobody's going to go to the theater to watch that. We did. We got J.K. Simmons back. And this man survived another reboot. Or at least he's going to. Honestly, when I saw this yesterday, though, you guys, I felt punched in the gut. Now, I did read Sony's statement that they issued on their Twitter account. Seems like an okay statement. I need to pull it up again so I can actually read the entire thing for you guys. I'm on the Deadline article right now, and I believe they updated it. Yep, right here they confirm it that Sony declined to meet those terms in regards to the 50-50 split. It was an aggressive stance by Disney, which already owns the merchandise on Spider-Man. They said tough nut in this article, come on. See, Disney did not need the 50-50 split in my opinion. You guys already made so much off the merchandise. There's literally Spider-Man stuff everywhere. It's legit, IDES. Sony even issued it on their Twitter account. Do you think that they should do a CGI Spider-Verse instead of a live-action Spider-Verse with the movie actors and some of the classic Spider-Man voice actors? I would be down for that. Honestly, I would be down for any Spider-Verse movie. Live action is, of course, the one that everybody wants, but if they get all the actors back and it's in animated form, I'll be 100% on board for that. I'm not sure about that Ultimate Spider-Man, all of the merchandise being affected. However, I know that Sony, I just made the video on it like 2 days ago. I know Sony is re-releasing Far From Home in theaters with 4 minutes of added footage. I'm not going to see it because of this deal. And I don't hate Sony for this. Disney wanted a 50-50 split because of how much money that Far From Home made. Excuse me, I'm losing my train of thought. I would have pulled out of the deal too, especially since they have the merchandising rights, but I just don't feel like going to see the film again. And I'm not one of those people that says we should boycott Sony or anything, because that's honestly childish. If anyone is to blame for this, it's Disney for trying to change the money. I don't buy that, Deacon, that Feige was too busy. This man literally oversees everything at Marvel. I highly doubt that he was busy. And if he's too busy, then they need to hire somebody else to take part of his job then. That doesn't mean you rip a character from the franchise. I don't think Disney will buy Sony. Sony's bigger than Fox. I mean, Toby, I feel like he could pull off a live-action Spider-Man 4. He just needs time to get in shape. But honestly, Avi Arad a few months ago was talking about that. He wants Sam Raimi to direct an animated Spider-Man film, which I do have a video on if you haven't seen that. Just do that. Just make it an Into the Spider-Verse spinoff, but it's Spider-Man 4. He's back? Yes, Wolf Cool, that's what this entire stream is about. It's raining outside right now, you guys, and it's like hard rain. I know, I honestly don't believe that, Meds. Feige oversees everything at Marvel, down to the TV shows. There is no way he's too busy. And like I said, if he is, then they need to hire somebody else to do part of his job. That doesn't mean you strip franchises out for the fans. I do too, Flame. It could happen now, Psycho Man, since Disney has, not Disney, but Sony has full control over this Spider-Man. Honestly, I think what they're gonna do is next film they're gonna play it off like Venom, where it's in its own universe, but there's room for it to be open, so it could cross over with Venom. Yeah, I agree, Aaron. Even Venom was better than I thought it would be. Now, it's not the greatest film, but it wasn't terrible. Alfred Molina wants to... Wait, who does he want to play now? I would right now, Dominic, but I already got the stream set up. I don't either. At least right now, I don't think Tom Holland's Spider-Man could work with Venom. He's too young. Now, the thing I'm thinking too with the next Spider-Man film, since they have to ignore everything within the MCU, they just need to do a big time jump in the film. Let's say Tom Holland is in college now. He's his own person. He doesn't really care about looking up to other superheroes or something. He's just his own person. Honestly, that's the way I could see them fixing it. Just doing a time jump. He's out of high school. He's in college. He's off doing his own thing. Man, we weren't even going to have Charlie Cox as Daredevil in Spider-Man. Exactly, Deacon. I also read, too, in one of these articles that Kevin Feige had producer credit on Venom. I'm not too sure about that. But one of the issues coming from this... whole fallout is that somebody didn't get producer credit on the movies. I like the design of Venom in Spider-Man 3 more than the Tom Hardy version. Yeah, I agree with that too, Meds, especially since they are making a Kraven the Hunter film. Or at least it's in development. I agree with that, Psycho Man. Tom Holland's got to be... His Spider-Man has to be a bit older. Like, right now, I don't see him taking on Venom. They could do that too, Aaron. Either my way of fixing this, like getting Tom Holland out of the MCU without screwing up the entire MCU, is that they need to do a time jump where he's just on his own and he really doesn't care about anything. I know a lot of people say the Incredible Hulk isn't an MCU film, but it is. But maybe make it like that, where you can say it isn't, but it is. And oh, I lost what I was trying to say. I don't know, just either get Tom Holland out of the MCU via multiverse, die, maybe Miles Morales takes his place in the MCU, or they could do like just a time jump. I remember that, Deacon. Those were part of the emails. Feige had a bunch of ideas of how to fix TASM 2, and Sony refused. And then look what happened. It just sucks being a Spider-Man fan in films right now. Honestly, hold on, I had to approve that message. I remember that Olympic. What's going on, Ben? I mean, Tom Hardy said that he wanted the crossover with Tom Holland. And Amy Pascal said that all of these films exist within the same reality, so I guarantee they're going to try to tie it in somehow. Especially with all the money that Venom made, you throw Spider-Man in there, which I think putting Spider-Man in Venom 2 was pointless at the time, because for one, he's going to be fighting Carnage in the film. That's going to be... You need to focus on Venom and Carnage. I know in the classic comics that when Carnage first appeared, Spider-Man helped Venom out in defeating him, but there's literally no point. Nobody wants to see Spider-Man team up with Venom. They want to see them fight, which is why you can't get any bigger from Carnage, because Carnage is Venom's arch rival. So in the third Spider-Man film, you need to focus on Spider-Man versus Venom. Do you think a green and yellow Doc Ock from the comic in live action? I don't know what that means. I agree, Quickscoped. My biggest fear with Spider-Man being out of the MCU is that the films are going to be a complete mess now, because for one, Sony has full control, which, you know, in the past couple of years they haven't had the greatest track record, although Spider-Verse was good. And also, like, you take away everything about this interpretation of Spider-Man that matters. Thank you, Dominic. I took that this morning. I was like, alright, I need a sad picture for this stream. I agree with that, Galaxy. I wouldn't mind seeing Andrew Garfield return. I don't know how likely that is, though, considering the way that he left Sony. What if Sony used the PS4 Spider-Man's origins? Like the exact adaptation, or are you saying that they should make a live-action version of the PS4, or just use his story? I like that Quickscope, kind of like an Ultimate Spider-Man. Evan, I read his tweet. I think he said, you know, he doesn't like the interpretation of the character, but he never wanted to see this, which is fair. From what they said, Ben, they're making 2 more Spider-Man films. Tom Holland and John Watts are returning, but they just can't reference any MCU stuff. I have no idea, Wolfcool. I want to see him back too. I want to see Tobey return. Only way I see it, though, is if they absolutely cancel these Spider-Man movies, because the only way they're gonna get the fans back is if they do Spider-Man 4. Like, let's be honest here. Who in the chat really wants to see another reboot with the new Spider-Man? I agree, Meds. They need to take it back to basics, like what Sam Raimi did in the first and second movies, where I know the second film, it does set up Harry Osborn for Spider-Man 3, but you need to focus on one film and not universe building. It could happen, Olympic. I wouldn't mind that. Only way, if they decide to, like I'm saying, you guys, if they cancel the Tom Holland movies, the 2 planned ones that they have, and they decide to reboot again, I don't think anyone's going to watch it, and the only way to win back the fans is going to be to make Spider-Man 4. Even if it's a one-off thing. See you later, Aaron. Take the entire films back to formula. That's what I'm saying, Deacon. And now they've taken away the one element of this interpretation of Spider-Man that makes it different from the previous 2 interpretations. What's going on, iDragon? Yeah, that's what we were talking about earlier, iDragon. I don't know about TASM 3 though, because people didn't even like TASM 2. Frankly, I'm not sitting here hoping that the TASM series returns. I would like to see Andrew Garfield in like a Spider-Verse film, but I don't really care to see his continuation of his movies. Spider-Man 4 for sure. Who's going to be the villains for the Tom Holland films? Not sure. What it's looking like, I would say, is well, now that Sony has full control, imagine it being Venom, since they want to throw Venom in everything. Venom, Scorpion, or Kraven the Hunter. I think I've seen that Olympic. When I first got on the stream, you guys, my PlayStation started reading all the comments to me like in a Siri voice, and it just scared the hell out of me. I don't know about that, iDragon. That's touchy. I wouldn't mind that, Wolf Cool. You look good. Built good. I want to find out what's going on with that producer credit, because that was one of the issues that they were saying with this. I can't find I'm looking at the Deadline article right now, you guys, but I can't find exactly what I read earlier. It was some tweet. Honestly, Ben, they're just not going to mention it, because let's be honest, Spider-Man doesn't really interact with the other MCU characters. He just interacted with Tony Stark. I mean, Captain America knows him, but, you know, Captain America's gone. I mean, who's really left besides Doctor Strange that really knows Spider-Man? I wouldn't mind that, Andy. I want to see the Hobgoblin on screen, you guys, but I think we've seen too many goblins right now. Variety wrote about it. Let me Google it, actually. Alright, let's see if this first article pops up. They could give him a new suit, Deacon, I guess. But you gotta think, too, that there might be an exception with that, because, you know, it's tied into Vulture's character that he uses that tech. Okay. When contacted by IO9, a Sony representative said it's their belief this dispute is simply over a producer credit and negotiations are ongoing. They further clarified that Feige has contributed to other Spider-centric movies that he did not receive a producer credit on. Other sources tell us that Deadline's story is completely accurate, so it is true that he is gone from the MCU. See you later, Dominic. Honestly, you guys, yeah, it was Variety. No, I'll link it in the chat what I just read. IO9. I believe Variety tweeted it, I'm not too sure. I don't think Universal's gonna get it. Sony is gonna hold on to Spider-Man. Even if they're making trash films, they're just gonna keep the rights. Why do you think they made Venom? I want to see Tombstone too. That is one of my favorite Spider-Man villains. I think he's a bit dark for Spider-Man films, but if they did like a Spider-Man noir movie, Tombstone would be a great villain. That is true, iDragon. Honestly though, since he's pulled from the MCU, these Spider-Man films really just seem pointless. Like, it's not going to build towards anything. They were building towards this Spider-Man becoming the next Tony Stark, and now they've just taken that away from everything. I don't think Ned Leeds is going to become the Hobgoblin. I saw that you sent me one. I'll add you after this. I wouldn't mind that quickscoped. I always said that whenever they do the Green Goblin next, he should be a mix of the 616 version and the Ultimate version. Like, don't make him as big as the Ultimate version, because he does look like the Hulk, but like, make his skin turn green or something. Like, he gets deformed when he takes the Goblin serum. Yeah, I agree. I didn't like the Into the Spider-Verse one, though. He should have a glider, not wings. But honestly, you guys, it's pretty sad being a Spider-Man fan right now for films. Like, these are my favorite movies. Spider-Man 1 and 2 and 3 are the whole reason I'm here making these videos right now. I've loved those movies since I was a kid, and I'm 21 years old now. I still love them. Those are my favorite movies. I can deadass quote every one. And now, I just want a good Spider-Man film. Yeah, happy birthday, Andrew Garfield. They rebooted Spider-Man again. Well, they didn't reboot it, but something else happened. I think when they use the villains that use the Stark tech, they can still use that tech. However, they just can't say by name, like, oh, this is from the Chitauri, this is from Tony Stark. And, like, if Spider-Man has Edith next film, I think they're just going to be like, alright, give me the glasses. They're not going to reference it as Edith, maybe. That is a great username. This tech is from Bruce Wayne. That's how they're going to fix it. Fuck it, they could get new tech from Norman Osborn. I don't know about Tobey Maguire being in the MCU. I think that if Sony decides to cancel these two planned Tom Holland films, the only way they're going to get the fans back is to make Spider-Man 4. I think they're done with Karen. If they reboot again, I don't think they're going to be doing the Uncle Ben origin. If they do another origin story, imagine the backlash. I mean, I wouldn't mind sitting through another origin, because I do like seeing Peter's life before he becomes Spider-Man, and of course the story is a classic, but we've seen it twice on screen so far, and even a third time if you count Spider-Verse. See you later, Flame. I agree. Or if what Dickovich said, that they should do an adult Peter Parker like Spider-Man PS4. Or what they can do with Tom Holland's is that do a time jump from fucking Far From Home to the next movie. Tom Holland's in college, he's dependent on himself, and that's how you fix everything. I agree, Goblin. Yeah, Uncle Ben's gonna die another time. I know about that, Galaxy. I did a video on that, and the guys that are making it watch my video. I don't know about Miles in live action right now since they have the Spider-Verse franchise, but I also don't think that Miles needs to be the main character of the Spider-Verse franchise since it's multiple Spider-Men. I think if they want to do a sequel, they don't necessarily need to focus on Miles. Like, they could do Miguel O'Hara as the main character if they wanted to. I don't know about being younger. Definitely not as young as Lex Luthor in Batman vs Superman. I guess, meds. I mean, what they could do is like some Spider-Verse, like something from that, where like the first, I don't know, 2 minutes of the film, he just explains like what happened with that. I agree with that too. Logan-style Toby movie, that would be great. I heard with the Spider-Verse sequel that they were going to make an all-female Spider-Man film. If I made an Aunt May solo movie, I wouldn't make one. The entire film would be her trying to get eggs. And at the end of the film, Uncle Ben brings him home, but someone shoots him. You guys, it's about to rain. Oh my god. Johnny Cash music for the trailer. Spider-Girl as in Mayday Parker, I would love to see that. I love their story. For some reason, my elementary school didn't have Spider-Man comics, but they just had Spider-Girl. You could make Toby her dad, and then, you know, that's Toby's daughter. Like, loose continuation of the Raimi franchise. Endgame for sure. What's the temperature out right now? Let me check for you, quick scoped. It is 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 32 Celsius, and it's about to storm. I agree, Andy. I don't think 3 is a bad film, it's just a disappointing film. They could have, Goblin. I mean, Sony's building their own world. They have multiple spin-offs they're trying to develop. You just need Spider-Man for them. Uncle Ben's solo movie is not happening. I don't know about making Norman Osborn young. Would you guys like to see a younger Norman Osborn? Because he needs to have a son that's old enough to be friends with Peter. Isn't there a Aunt May in the Spider-Verse that has powers? I think so. I was ready for that too, Deacon, but there's still time for them to resolve it. That's one of the reports I read. But as of right now, there's no deal in place for Spider-Man to continue in the MCU. There's time to make one. But honestly, I'd give it like a year's tops for them to renegotiate. Because what? There can't be like longer than the 3-year gap between the films. There could be an MCU. I was saying this, like, there can be multiple Spider-Man universes if they want right now. You could do the MCU films, but you also could do another live-action Spider-Man film if you want, since they got multiple Spider-Man universes going right now. They got Venom, MCU, and then they got a Spider-Verse going right now. What's going on, Captain? I agree with that, Meds. I would pick the Lizard. I agree with that too, Deacon, and probably if Marvel did have all the rights, then we wouldn't be seeing like these new interpretations of the characters. We'd be getting like classic Ned Leeds and classic Betty Brant and stuff like that. Honestly, I think if they decide to cancel these Tom Holland films, I don't think they should make any more Spider-Man movies. I think they should sit on it for a while and focus on the TV side, since they said that Phil Lord and Chris Miller were working on Spider-Man shows. Oh yeah. Shout out to Joseph Whitty. That's what Digovich said on Twitter, Andy. How crazy would it be if we just wake up tomorrow and Disney buys Sony. Weren't they trying to pursue them though? Wasn't Sony for sale at one point, or at least their film division? I believe Apple was trying to get them too. I'm not too sure. Or was that Fox? I might be forgetting it. I believe Sony was trying to sell their film division like earlier last year. It's thundering outside, you guys. I'm gonna end it at 1:45 because then we would have went roughly an hour on this stream. Like I said, you guys, this wasn't supposed to be the video for today, so I had to push today's video to Thursday, which is going to be the last video for the week. Yeah, I remember now, Meds. See you later, Wolfcool. I agree with that, Goblin. Even Spider-Man 1. Spider-Man 1 is a classic. But the thing about those movies is that they didn't really work towards building other films. They just focused on themselves. Could you imagine that, Eye Dragon? Biggest troll of all time. I didn't know about that, Captain. I mean, I guess that makes sense because then you would have like a film monopoly. I wouldn't mind seeing Spectacular Spider-Man come back. If Sony's making all these Spider-Man TV shows, then they might as well bring Spectacular back while they're at it. I agree too. I like Spectacular Spider-Man, but I'm not into it as much as the other people. I think that the 90s show is better just because that's the one that I grew up on, and I also love the Venom story in there, and I think the animation looks better. But Spectacular is really good. I'm not going to deny that. I just prefer the 90s version better. So if I had to choose between bringing one of them back, I'm bringing back the 90s show. Although I do think the 90s show ended perfectly, even if it is a cliffhanger. Like the last episode is basically the Spider-Verse. That was crazy. I agree, Goblin, but that's the thing that people liked about this interpretation of Spider-Man, is that he interacted with other characters. Now they're taking that away and giving us like these inaccurate versions of the characters all by themselves. Like people are going to be turned off from that, even if they continue making the Tom Holland movies, which they're supposed to be doing. I agree, Deacon. I agree with that too, man. Ultimate Spider-Man trash. I did like the Marvel Spider-Man cartoon from the first 2 seasons that I saw. Like, it was decent. It wasn't great, but I enjoyed watching it sometimes, and I also liked the origin story that they did. I did like the animation. I know the animation isn't very that popular, but I stopped watching after the 2nd season because there was no more episodes. And I heard like, isn't Doc Ock in the show a girl? Like that's fine. Like I don't care, but it's still kind of weird, you know? And also like everybody is in high school too. Like literally they tied everything into science in that school that Peter goes to. I actually didn't watch Spectacular till like later. Like I didn't watch it when it was on the air because I didn't like the animation. Yeah, it's weird, Olympic. I believe the entire 90 series is out on you can get the entire series like legitimately in Europe, but in the US they don't sell it. I had to buy bootlegs on eBay to get the entire series. What's going on, Martinez? I don't know about that, Deacon. I at least think their film division could be bought. Maybe, Dickovich. You don't see the obvious connections that they're both connected. I agree with that, Andy. Honestly, all the 90s superhero cartoons are amazing. That entire universe of Marvel cartoons. Now, I don't really like Unlimited because the animation's a bit odd, and plus, like, you know, it's like knockoff 2099 Spider-Man. They should have just did Spider-Man 2099, unless he was made at a different time. I'm not too sure about that. I always thought Spider-Man Unlimited was weird, even when I was a kid. If anything, it should be fuck Disney. I heard some people were going to start boycotting everything Spider-Man and like everything Disney, and like that's too extra. I did see that Jeremy Renner spoke about it. I believe Ryan Reynolds spoke about it too. What is non-existent? Olympic? I think the Unlimited suit is cool, but like that entire series was just weird to me. I didn't know about that, Ben. Yep, that's the entire reason this deal didn't happen apparently. Disney wanted a 50-50 split on top of having the merchandising rights, and Sony wasn't having it. If anything, it's Disney's fault if we're going to blame it on somebody. Oh, okay. I did kind of like the symbiotes. I mean, the first episode is what? He goes on the rocket and Venom and Carnage are there? Do you think suits on Spider-Man PS4 will get taken out? They're not going to get taken out. I mean, even if he's not in the MCU, they're still Sony property. Yeah, I'll say this, Captain. Even like other people I've talked to, I'm sure we can all agree on that the Russo brothers' interpretation of Spider-Man in the MCU is a lot better than the Watts version. Like Civil War, that is the best Spider-Man performance I've seen since Tobey Maguire in the original films. And it's funny because that's like what? Does he have shorter screen time in Civil War than Infinity War and Endgame? I'm pretty sure Endgame because he's in that for like a minute. Anorexic Carnage. Oh, okay, the 90s Spider-Man series. I heard that you could get like the entire series though, like overseas. You can't get it in America. They only sell like DVD versions, like specific episodes packaged, like the Venom Saga, Green Goblin episodes, Doc Ock episodes, and the Daredevil episode, which they released alongside all the films back in the day, I remember. I agree, Deacon. The older generation is always going to have the best Spider-Man films. I'm not even joking about that. Yep, I remember that too, Quickscoped. I remember buying the Green Goblin one when I was a kid, like right after watching Spider-Man, because Spider-Man 2002 was my first interpretation of the character. That was the first time I heard about Spider-Man. So I got the DVD for, I forget what it was called, but it had Spider-Man and the Green Goblin on the cover. I remember spinning the disc around and around in the, in the case, and it ended up scratching. So I didn't even get to watch it. I had to get another copy. I agree, Meds. That scene, the entire Queen sequence in Civil War is my favorite MCU scene. I don't have Discord. I agree. Y'all should have seen my reaction. This was before I made my YouTube channel, of course. I made my YouTube channel after Homecoming. But my reaction to fucking Spider-Man stealing the shield in the Civil War trailer, bro, I screamed. I was like, oh my god. I was so hyped when I saw that. And then the lenses moved and everybody freaked out. I swear to you guys. I remember exactly where I was when I saw that. I had to go to a driver's ed class because I got in an accident. My friend picked me up because we had like an hour lunch break. So he picked me up, and then they dropped the trailer on the lunch break. So I'm sitting in this dude's car watching the trailer, and I just freaked the fuck out when I saw Spider-Man. Oh my god, that was crazy. I watched that trailer like 10 times after that. Civil War, what was that? That was the second trailer, right? That will always be my favorite MCU trailer. I agree with that, Captain. I'm sure like we can all agree in the chat that the Russo's interpretation of the MCU Spider-Man is better than Watt's. Hold on, you guys. I'll be back in a second.
My first film I ever went to the cinema to see was Spider-Man 3 and my second was Transformers from 2007. Who died? The Russos should have made Homecoming in at that age. His own glider entailed Ronnie. Fact. Facts. Who is the robot?
I'm back! I'm back! What are you guys saying? Honestly, if they decide to continue these Spider-Man films past these two ones that they have planned and people aren't feeling them because of John Watt's direction, they should get the Russos to do it. Who's the robot? Wait, what's going on? Does my mic sound good? It's raining outside right now, you guys. I don't know if it's messing with my connection. Holy fuck, it's raining hard. Sounds fine? It just started storming outside. Alright, cool. I'm gonna end it in like 10 minutes, you guys, or I'll end it at 2, I guess. Yep, I love that episode, Captain. I posted the link to the stream on Twitter and this guy replied, I know. I'm gonna actually change the thumbnail. I don't know if I should keep it to this. This was just something that I wanted to overlay for the stream. I made a thumbnail yesterday. But honestly, you guys, my final thoughts, since we've been talking for like an hour, my final thoughts on this situation, I don't blame Sony for pulling out of it, especially with the amount of percentage that Disney wanted. I think that the two Tom Holland films could be successful, but in all honesty, I think they're going to be a complete mess because they're taking away everything from this interpretation of Spider-Man that he depends on, which is other characters in the universe. And I also think that if they decide to cancel these Tom Holland films, the only way they're going to win the fans back is by making Spider-Man 4. I don't think anyone is going to be open to another reboot. I didn't hear about that, Captain. I've never actually gotten into the 90s X-Men show. I know that's like one of the greatest superhero shows of all time, but I actually never really got into it. The first film I saw in 3 was Spider-Man. Oh, when I saw Spider-Man 3 in theaters, I remember it being so packed that people were sitting on the stairs. Like, I couldn't believe it. I don't watch garbage people, Quickscope. I agree too, Deacon. Peter does progress as a character, but towards the end of Far From Home. Bonesaw is ready. He's ready for a reboot. No, I'm joking. I agree, Andy, but I only think Spider-Man 4 would happen if they decide to cancel these two Tom Holland films. And honestly, like, if they do Spider-Man 4 after canceling these films, it would literally be because everybody would be against Sony, then they just gotta come out, I don't know, maybe post a teaser poster or something, and then everybody just goes wild, and they completely forget that Tom Holland is out of the MCU, and they canceled his films. For that, I give you the 50-50 split, and you're lucky. And you're lucky about that. I don't buy in the bullshit. Quick scoped. With what facts? I mean, they did have the Easter egg meds. That's how Peter gets the inspiration to make his mask. Who would you kill of Toby or Andrew in a Spider-Verse movie? It has to be Toby. Toby would have a more emotional impact if he died. I know, Deacon. I got into a big argument with him about that, and somehow I missed an obvious connection that two games are connected because they use elements within the comics. I remember seeing TASM 1 in theaters. I actually really liked it. I said it was better than the Raimi films at the time. I was a stupid-ass kid. Yeah, it's the one that you get from Platinum. I saw your friend request, Olympic. I'll accept it after this. The first MCU film that I saw in theaters was Iron Man 1. But back in the day, I really wasn't into the MCU. I saw Iron Man 1. I saw The Incredible Hulk. I don't think I saw another one in theaters until The Avengers. I really didn't get into the MCU until they announced Spider-Man was in it. That was around the time Age of Ultron was there, and fuck, what was I thinking? They announced it along, like, right before Age of Ultron got into theaters. So that's when I started picking up on every MCU movie. I really didn't get into the MCU until they announced Spider-Man was in the MCU. He could, Captain. Spider-Man 1 was the first one that I saw, but I didn't see it in theaters. Spider-Man 2 was the first one that I saw in theaters. And I still remember my mom saying that that is the best Spider-Man movie when we left. And what, 15 years later, that statement is still true. Yeah, I guess, Andy. Thank you, Spider-Boy. I remember seeing the Avengers as well. I remember people saying that Spider-Man should have been in the film, and I'm sitting there like, he hasn't even had his new film. How is he going to be in that? I remember the end too. I didn't know who Thanos was. I thought it was Galactus. Seeing the Avengers in theaters though, like, really, like, got me into, like, wanting to care about superhero stuff again, because before, like, it was on and off. I only cared when a Spider-Man film was coming out. I don't know about that Eye Dragon. Imagine if they did though, and imagine if they did that and then Toby snapped his fingers at the end. I don't know, man. Will the US election affect the Avengers project in 2020? Okay, we need to stop fucking with everybody on this stream. I'm ending it in 15 minutes, you guys. I think they can, Andy. Like, one of the reports, what's going on, Sam? One of the reports after the initial report came out is that there's still time to develop a deal to get Spider-Man back into the MCU or renegotiate things. I don't know if he'd be good at a Miles Morales movie, because the thing about Sam Raimi is that he's only familiar with the classic, like, Spider-Man stories. That's the reason why he didn't really want to do Venom in Spider-Man 3, because he was unfamiliar with the villain. It wasn't because he disliked Venom, he was just unfamiliar with him. If anything, I think Sam Raimi should just stick to classic Peter Parker stories. I agree that they don't need Spider-Man, but Spider-Man needs the MCU, at least this interpretation of the character. All of his stories are built off of other characters. I don't think Hulk is going to get taken out. If anything, the Hulk retires. The thing about the Hulk, I believe, is that he just can't have his own solo movies because of the rights. If they negotiate, like, right now, that would be so funny. I'd have to change the stream name. I mean, they were talking about bringing Sam Raimi back. Remember during the Spidey Summit, you guys? There was the emails that they were exploring ideas to bring Sam Raimi back. I agree with that too, Galaxy. I mean, Miles Morales exists because everybody wanted Donald Glover to play Spider-Man. Which short film is that, Deacon? Is that one of those one-shots they used to make? I've seen Spider-Man 3 figures. Are you talking about the Hot Toys or just like regular figures? I want the Venom one. It's kind of hard to find vintage Spider-Man stuff because even when you go to like used toy stores and stuff, they just go for so much. There is one in my area, like this antique shop that has like the entire second floor is a bunch of nerd shit. Like they got an entire section dedicated to Star Wars. I got a bunch of like episode 1 figures from there for cheap in packaging and everything. And then they have other stuff too, which is like Marvel, DC, like all mixed in and stuff. And then they got like the horror section for those type of people. They have like a bunch of loose figures for like from the Raimi films, but I want them boxed. I mean, I wouldn't mind the loose ones, but still, I want them boxed. I don't really collect figures because I'd rather collect like I don't know, other stuff pertaining to the franchise, but like I would collect like Raimi Spider-Man figures. The problem is that I'm a grown man though, and I don't feel like I need all of these things. I know about that, Martinez. I made a video on it. I'm cool with the guys that are making it. Well, not cool, like we're buddies, but they know who I am. I agree with that too, Andy. Item 47. I heard of that one. I'm gonna have to watch that one. Now, if you guys watch my video on Toby almost being in the MCU, they wanted to use Empire State University and say that it was the same school that Peter went to in the Raimi films, but they weren't. Sony wasn't having that, so that's kind of interesting that they were allowed to use ESU. That could happen, iDragon. I think they'll work it out. I don't think they're just gonna completely I don't think they're gonna completely ignore everything, because this isn't like the Fox franchise or like the TASM franchise where it just doesn't matter that the story doesn't get continued. This is the MCU. It's literally the biggest, most important comic book franchise. I could do that, Olympic. I might consider that. I was gonna do a vlog today where I go out and something Spider-Man related, but this is too big of news not to talk about. Oh yeah, I've seen that. I agree, Meds. I don't think this is the end of it. I don't think they need the 50 split though. They already got the merchandising rights. That's worth more than a 50 split in my opinion. I think it would be pretty good. As long as it's the classic interpretation of the characters. That's what I'm thinking, Captain. 10 minutes, you guys, I'm ending it. Maybe Feige will still stick around because they said that he had producer credits on Venom and like there wasn't, or at least he had a hand in it. I believe what I read was that he didn't receive producer credit or something. I've seen that quickscoped, I know. I saw it on Instagram. I don't think TASM 3 is happening. Only way I see them bringing Andrew Garfield back is for a Spider-Verse film. I don't think they're going to continue his actual story. I was thinking that too, Captain. I I think opening credits should be a tradition in Spider-Man films. I think the first 3 films established that as a tradition, kind of like the opening crawl in Star Wars. Since they didn't explain Spider-Man's origin in Civil War, I think what they should have done is they should have did an opening credits montage explaining his origin, maybe get Alex Ross back to paint everything again. I don't know, but I think that's what they should have did. Yeah, right, Dickovich. I don't know about that, Andy. Can they do that? I like the TASM movies, but I don't think they're going to be continuing them. The first one is really good for what it is. The second one I don't care to watch. The thing about Andrew, though, is that he was supposed to show up to a meeting with, like, the president of Sony or something, and he never did. And then I believe after TASM 2 came out, he was, like, blaming Sony for the problems of the film. That is a bit interesting, Quickscoped. I remember back in the day they were exploring the possibility of doing a Spider-Man 2099 series, and it was supposed to be like their Captain America franchise where he's a man at a time. Like the first one I believe was supposed to be in 2099, but towards the end of the film he was supposed to come to modern day or something. I agree too, Deacon. I always thought, like, if we ever get like an older Spider-Man, like Spider-Man 3 age Spider-Man again, he should wear the Alex Ross suit. That's like a mature Spider-Man suit. I mean, in my opinion, the Far From Home suit is the best one that we've had on screen. If they did Spider-Man 4, you have to bring back Danny Elfman. If you're literally going to bring everybody back, it has to be Danny Elfman, or they could do what Spider-Man 3 did, where it's kind of like a mix between the two. Like, Danny doesn't produce new music, but they still use his music. I remember that too, Meds. I believe the background they had, I forget where they announced it at, but like the background was like, it was like a Raimi background. It was like silver webbing and everything. Yeah, I guess so, Quickscoped. I didn't hear about I didn't hear about that, Ethan. Like their recent rumors? I guess with the fangs. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I think the best Spider logo, or at least my personal favorite one, is the chest emblem from Spider-Man 1. I actually don't understand what that means, Captain. I'm sorry. Shorten it down for me. I agree with that, Andy. They were exploring the ideas of getting all of them in there. I have a video on that. There was a scene they wrote where all of them were in it. Oh, okay. I didn't hear about that, Ethan. That's new to me. I guess it's the rain, Dickovich. It's raining hard as hell outside. I don't mind the MCU Spider-Man logo. I think it looks best on the suit I have on screen right now. See you later, Martinez. I like the Spider-Man 3 symbiote spider, but the thing is that if you're gonna just go with the classic black suit logo, it doesn't make any sense. Like they could have just did the entire base of what they had for the black suit that they used in film, but they could have just wrapped the spider around classic. That would have been perfect. And then it doesn't make any sense when Venom becomes Spider-Man, because then he has a different logo. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not talking about that one. I've seen that one. I did the video on that. I'm saying, like, okay, take the black Raimi suit that we saw in film. All you have to do is swap the Spider logo with like a silver classic symbiote logo. I think they changed the material because it looked like that. I know, Olympic. Spider-Man 1's logo is my favorite of the live-action logos. My favorite suits are the Far From Home suit that's on screen now and the first Raimi suit. So you're saying that Stan Lee should have been their landlord? I think if they were to go with Spider-Man 4, then maybe they would have changed the suit so that the logo is the black suit logo from Spider-Man 3. There's like a really cheap costume that you can find pictures of online that has the logo like that on the classic suit. They could have did that, Eye Dragon. Maybe as he progresses wearing the symbiote, like the angrier he gets, it changes. Why did Peter remove his shirt in Spider-Man 1? Now everyone saw he was Spider-Man? Are you talking about in the rain scene or when he's in his house? If you're talking about the rain scene, I mean, you could barely see anything in that. Oh, I don't know, man. I mean, let's be honest. Like, there's nothing unique about the way Peter Parker looks. He is a generic white male. What are they going to say that they described him as? And that was back in the day when, you know, everyone didn't have a camera in their pocket. Oh, okay. Yeah, the World Unity Fair. You gotta say carnival scene. I was thinking of Spider-Man Homecoming. Not Homecoming, Far From Home for some reason. I don't think anybody noticed though. I think everybody was just trying to get out of the way. The thing I don't like about that scene though is that the neck is cut so much on the Spider-Man suit. Like he probably has it rolled under, that way it fits under his clothes, but it just looks so weird like that. I want something like that in the MCU now. I don't care how corny a scene like that is. That is like definitive superhero stuff. Yeah, Captain, exactly. 2 minutes, I'm ending it, you guys. I agree too, Digovich. They need to bring back they need like Shazam style humor in the next Spider-Man films. The humor in Far From Home doesn't really land with me. I think the funniest joke in the film was when they go to the opera and the teacher's like, "Oh, we beat the rush," and the other teacher's like, "Yeah, the rush to get out." It just looks weird. I assume he has it like tucked within the costume, that way it fits under his clothes. But I don't know, it just looks so weird like that because I feel like there's supposed to be more attached to the suit covering his chest. Toby was in Spider-Verse, how would he be? I mean, I guess he would just be the Peter B. Parker because they were exploring ideas for that before the film came out. I'm not supporting another reboot. I can't do it. Back in the day, I didn't want to... I mean, I'll see the film, but like, I'm not going to be for the reboot. I'm not going to be like, yes, we're getting a new interpretation of Spider-Man. People were more accepting of the Andrew Garfield film's ending because this Spider-Man was going to be in the MCU. Alright, you guys, I appreciate the comments, but we've been going for like an hour and 15 minutes now. I'm going to end it. Tomorrow, oh yeah, the wife joke was pretty funny. That was pretty sad though. Tomorrow I have a video drop in, which was supposed to drop today, but I had to delay it due to this news, so be on the lookout for that one, you guys. Thank you to everybody that tuned in. Alan's here. But thanks to everybody that tuned in. This was my first time streaming like this. Maybe for future streams I'll do that too. Let me know what you guys thought of the stream and everything, and I will see you guys again in my next video.